listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
All right, what is going on? How you doing? And thanks so much for checking out my show Straight to Video. Now, if I'm sounding a little groggy, it's because I just got back from a week of shows last night driving for the Dolly Rots all over the UK. We had an amazing time and every show was given a brilliant response from the crowds that came out. Everybody in the touring crew was incredible and the other bands, Don't Panic and Royals, were all stellar dudes, so a big shout out to everyone involved. But yeah, today I'm feeling it in the bones. But the podcast rolls on, and on today's show I'm chatting with Slimehouse TV's Theo Cane. Theo is a filmmaker, illustrator, toy collector and designer who I met when he came along to our 80s video shop a couple of months ago to do a video blog, and he's such a great dude with an infectious vibe and passion which just oozes from his Slimehouse YouTube channel and everything else he's involved in. The whole Slimehouse brand incorporates so many parts of Theo's personality and interests, and whether he's chatting about vintage 80s and 90s toys in his collection or maybe putting the spotlight on UK toy fairs, he does it in a style like no other. It was great to deep dive a little into Theo's backstory and what brought him to where he is today, which I'm sure you're going to enjoy hearing all about. Today's episode of the Straight to Video podcast is as ever presented to you in association with Affinity Photo, an incredible piece of photo editing software which I've been using for graphic design the past couple of years. You can see how it's used in the podcast episode art what you see each week, and it's an extremely affordable alternative to other programs on the market, so please check them out at affinity.serif.com. Alright, if you want to find out more about Theo's world of Slimehouse TV, you can find him on all social media platforms, or simply just type in Slimehouse TV on Google and a whole world of retro goodness will rear its neon-fused head. But right now though, please enjoy my straight to video chat with Theo Cane.
Yo, brother, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. What's that RoboCop thing behind you?
Which one? There's loads.
Right over your shoulder.
Oh, it's a backpack, like a kid's backpack.
Oh, nice. It looks like RoboCop 2 or something, that does.
It's the RoboCop, the series. It's even more tacky. Yeah, the like Channel 5 series.
So how you been? You staying busy?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Got lots going on. Yeah, looking forward to doing this, bro. I've not done a podcast for a while, so it's good to do one.
Excellent stuff. What's the t-shirt? That's your Chef Spendables, your film crew, right?
Old school, yeah. That's just the name we just made up when we were making Unit 11, because we were just buzzing about Expendables at the time. The movies were dropping. We were like, we'll be the Chef Spendables, because we were making action movies every weekend. So we just like branded it a bit, but it was never like an official thing. We had like our own clubhouse and everything at one point. You know, when I told you about the Slimehouse cinema that we had?
Yeah.
We had like that logo sprayed giant on the wall and things. It was like some motorcycle clubhouse looking place that we had. It was wicked. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Druids MC. It's like a big motorcycle club in the north of England, like some Hells Angels type, like actual motorcycles club. I went to their clubhouse and it just like inspired me, like, yeah, I want to build something like this, because we had a space anyway. It was just a place that we'd not had long, and we were just throwing anything in it that like we could use to sit on and things. And then after I went to that clubhouse, I was like, no, we're doing this art. We're going to insulate it, put radiators in. I want to put a filter in the roof so people can smoke in there and everything.
Oh, amazing. So when people ask what it is you do you have like a stock answer? Because you have a very entrepreneurial spirit. You're a filmmaker, illustrator, YouTuber, toy designer, collector. Anything I missed?
It's kind of one of those where it's like, ask what I don't do, and then we can go from there. Because, yeah, I do so much that I forget what I do. There's some things that I do just now and again, which some people do as like a whole career, and I'm just at a decent level of doing just that. For example, some people build dioramas for a job. That's all they do all day, every day. I can build wicked dioramas, and like once a year I'll make one, but I wouldn't class myself as a diorama builder, but I'm wicked at it when I need to be. So there's lots of things like that come under like my creative banner that I can do. But I would say, for the most part, I'm an illustrator and a filmmaker. They're like my two main things, and obviously a toy collector.
Yeah. Do you get bored very easily and just like to try different things?
I would say it's bored recently because I tie it in all under my Slimehouse banner anyway. So it's all just creative stuff. And obviously I'm a big toy collector and things, but it's not just I like them because they're nostalgic or they're a throwback to an era that I relate to more. I like the sculpts and the design of them. So that's art. Same reason why I like movies. I like the aesthetics of them. I like the music they use or the practical effects. Again, it's art, it's creative, it's design. So it all comes under that same banner for me in a sense anyway. So everything that I like equally for the same reasons, because to me it's all just like food and I eat it all up. Like I've done tons of music in the past and things, but to me, again, that was same because I was just writing music like if I was writing a film script and just making it rhyme more and having it flow to a beat. But I was still always doing stuff that like painted a certain kind of picture or an image or was like themed on something. We did like 2 albums back in like 2012 to 2015. We invented like a genre called adventure rap. A lot of people don't know this about me. Most people know me for my toy stuff and they know me for my filmmaking stuff. But I was like a big time battle rapper back in like 2012 for like a good like 8 years or something. We released 2 albums and the first one we did was like adventure rap. So we remixed loads of like Conan and Beowulf and loads of like fantasy classic themes and then like did a whole album that was rap, but it was like Dungeons and Dragons, but not in like a corny way that it was like fun. We like played it so serious that there was only the odd line that was a bit fun. So if I was rapping like from the sense of I'm a barbarian on like a dungeon bandit mission to prize a jewel out of a statue's head, I was writing it like I was actually really having to do that and my life was on the line. So I'd always do it in a sense that everything was like filmic, and then the cover that I got painted for it, I wanted it painted like an old VHS cover or an old Iron Maiden cover or something. So again, all just comes under that same banner. Everything I do is always to do with like creative filmmaking and design.
I think you should bring that back. The whole D&D thing is just exploding more and more now, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? Do you know with the music thing? I love doing music. And like I said, I was a giant battle rapper. To be fair, battle rap now is like had its day in many ways. Cancel culture's changed a lot of that. You can't just say whatever you want to someone in a battle rap anymore and get away with it.
Did you used to go pretty low?
No, not at all. We all used to go horrendous, but we was all friends, but we used to go horrendous. But like we all was raised on Eminem and South Park and stuff. So we would say anything and no one would care. And we was all friends. If you watched us in a battle rap, you'd think we wanted to rip each other's head off. You'd think we hate each other. We were so disrespectful. But then as soon as the cameras weren't rolling, we're having a drink at the bar. We're all going to Pizza Hut after like 20 of us. We were a family, but we just battle rapped the same as 2 boxers would punch each other up and then hug afterwards. So that's what the battle rap thing was. So battle rap in many ways, I'd never go back to that. That's had its day. I did everything I needed to do with battle rap. I battled some of the biggest in the world. But music wise, I love writing music. I did a Red Dead Redemption track like 2 years ago. And when I write as detailed as if I'm drawing. I'm telling you, I'm going to go on tangents today. This is what I'm like. I'm terrible for it. I'm working on like a Judge Dredd image at the minute, a drawing. For no reason, I just haven't got a Judge Dredd drawing in my portfolio. I spent like 2 nights just on his eagle shoulder pad just to get the dimensions of it correct. The same was when I was writing lyrics. So I might spend like 2-3 nights on 4 bars, just getting them so meticulously, perfectly crafted. So when it comes to music now, I don't have the time to write it like I would like to write it because I'm always so busy doing my other stuff, my filmmaking, my YouTube channel, my art commissions. So for me to like sit and write to the level that I used to write, I would need to put like a whole month aside, like, right, I'm putting a month aside to write 2 tracks. And that's honestly how much time I would need. And same with battle rap, we used to know who we were battling like 6 weeks before. And I'd just put all my time, literally every hour that I had free, I would put into writing.
Are you like uber focused?
Ridiculously focused, yeah. Last night I was working on an art commission until 4 a.m. I didn't need to. I was just so in the zone and focused that time didn't mean anything to me. I was just focused on the art. Yeah, so whether I'm writing lyrics, whether I'm sculpting a toy for a toy design, whether I'm editing something or filming something, whatever, I'm so like meticulously focused on it to a point that I get so lost in it that I have to take time away and look at it again with fresh eyes to even notice any mistakes I've made. Or if like I'm drawing and something's out of proportion and things, I have to like take a step back and look at it with fresh eyes. If I was writing lyrics back in the day, I would be writing and then like think something was the best bar I'd ever wrote, and then the next morning I'd read it and be like, it doesn't even make sense, it's stupid. But at the time I thought it was amazing. So very hyper focused.
What could you see yourself doing when you were at school? Did you have like, oh, I want to be this?
I just wanted to work in film. That's all I ever wanted to do. I've never diverted. I've never compromised on anything that I wanted to do. Like literally, I always said I want to work in special effects and stuff in film. Yeah, in school, I love Tom Savini and Gianetto De Rossi, who a lot of people don't know, but he's the dude who did all the effects for like Zombie Flesh Eaters and a lot of them Lucio Fulci Italian movies. Like a lot of those like really clay heavy, like crispy, flaky zombies with the ones with the worms in the eye and stuff. But I loved all that stuff. So I was like heavily influenced by those guys. So all I wanted to do was special effects. So right out of school, I looked at a course by not Neil Marshall, he directed The Descent. Neil Gorton, he had like a makeup school down south, and we looked at it. It was like, I don't know, it was like $7,000 or something at the time to join this makeup school. And there was not like many like classes doing it or universities and stuff. There will have been, but not many, not that I had access to it. This is really before the internet, you could even find out. Anyway, it was too expensive for my parents to pay for it. So I just went and did just like your normal HND art and design course and just started trying to learn special effects on my own. Forever had dental acrylic stuck into my bedroom carpet or like expanding foam stuck to my fingers, trying to take it off with Stanley blades and things. Like I was always messing around with this stuff. And all I had as reference was Tom Savini's Grand Illusions books, which were very good and told his story well, but they didn't break down like step by step how to really do things. And if they did, it wasn't articulated in a way that I understood it. So I'd look online and try and find things online. Again, this is like early days of the internet. This stuff was out there, but it wasn't like you could just go on YouTube and watch tutorials. This was all just doing your own research. So I was constantly just making a mess trying to create effects. And then I started shooting little movies just to put effects in them. We'll make a little zombie film and just put some zombies in it so we can do some zombie effects. Before zombies were popular, years before Walking Dead and stuff, like our reference was still like Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead. So I was making little movies and I had a few friends that was interested in doing it. Not many, just a small handful as I was like in my first year of college and things, because I didn't really have that many friends after school towards college that were like into the stuff that I'm into. And I struggled to connect with anyone that weren't really into the stuff I'm into. So I had a few friends that was into it. We was making these little movies and then I started to like stress about the storyline of the film and continuity of the film more than the effects, or as much as the effects at least. And then before I knew it, the little film that I wanted to make that was 5 minutes, 10 minutes to show some effects off was a feature. So I made like 3 feature films in 3 years with my friends, like an hour and a half movies, packed with loads of gratuitous dumb effects just to show that I could do it. And then started working on little independent films, doing bits and bats for theirs. But I got to a point where I was just more interested in the filmmaking than the special effects side of stuff. So I still do special effects. On Unit 11, I did all the special effects. I've never paid anyone to do my effects for me. I've done them myself, but it's always like a side thing now to the filming. I just got more in love with the storytelling and the filmmaking more than the effects in the end. So yeah, to answer your question, which you asked me, I did want to become a special effects artist in school, but that later just became an all-round filmmaker.
Because you were born in 1988, the year of your favourite film, The Blob, the stellar Chuck Russell remake.
Yeah, great year.
You gravitate to so much pop culture from that decade. What is it, do you think, that draws you back to all that stuff? Is it growing up around it with your dad being a dealer and collector? Was you always surrounded with slightly older stuff?
Yeah, for sure. And that's because all my toys were from the car boot or from the discount store. So I would get like new toys at Christmas, but because my dad was always such a wheeler dealer, we was forever in Skips. I was at the car boot and the markets every single week.
Forever in Skips?
I can't walk past a Skip now without having a look, see if there's anything in there that's worth pulling out. That's what I'm a Skip rat. I always will be. I could be a millionaire and I'll still rubberneck Skips.
I'm always looking for videos in Skips.
Exactly, yeah. VHS, an old rack, an old unit, some toys, whatever, or something I can sell and buy old toys. Like I'm always like that. I'll never not be, even if I don't want to be. So all my toys, most of them, because I was born in 88, but so much of my toys were He-Man and Thundercats and stuff like that, which came out like years before then. There was still stuff coming out towards the late 80s, like the Ninja Turtles and things, but a lot of my toys were primarily from like the mid to early 80s because they were from car boots and things. So that's why I gravitate towards that so much. I don't think it's a case of like, oh, I only like that stuff because it's nostalgic. I just like the style and the design and the plastics used and the way that they look and the feel that they have more than the stuff that's out now.
Just the packaging and everything.
Yeah, the whole package. And like I said, whether it's toys or clothing or movies, I just gravitate to that era. I just think it's way cooler. It's not because, I think the time that we live in now, I don't like it and I don't relate to it. There's some things obviously I don't like. There's lots of things, but I don't relate to none of it. But the 80s and the late 70s is just an era that just really, really speaks to me aesthetically. It's just pleasing to me in many ways. It's got a soul that we don't have anymore. Everything's so authentic then, like a lot of them movies, a lot of the stuff that comes out now, movies and toys and everything, it's all like either a throwback to something that's already existed or it's piggybacking off something else that's popular. And the 80s still did that. There's 100 Rambo knockoff films and stuff, but they still had like mad authenticity and soul to them, that they wasn't just like, oh, we're doing this because at the minute superhero films are popular, so let's just keep making superhero stuff. It were like, they were throwing a lot of shit at the wall back then to see what sticks. Can I swear on this show? Is that okay?
You can swear as much as you want. Well, I expected you to be swearing.
Okay,
so
okay. Well, I was a college teacher for years as well, so I can not swear and talk. I can do these Zoom calls without swearing. But yeah, they were just throwing a lot of stuff at the walls to see what sticks. Again, with the toy thing, there's lots of like real inventive, crazy toys that were coming out at the time in the late 70s and 80s, just because they were trying stuff to see what worked. And of course, we know that mutants and monsters work, but it wasn't like we just stick to a particular type of book, a particular type of figure. There were so many different ones, so much variation back then. Recently on my video podcast that I do on YouTube, I spoke to Brian Levant, the director of Jingle All the Way, and many others. He's also a toy collector and he collects stuff from even earlier than that. And he liked that back in the day, Japan would get the license to make Flintstones figures, but they wouldn't have like the color palettes to know what to use. And they wouldn't have like the best designs to work from. So they would always have like their own little kind of twist on it, their own color scheme, their own style of design. Nothing was like copy and pasted. He said, nah, like you will never get a Bart Simpson figure made now that isn't pretty much the standard Bart Simpson design.
Oh yeah, they'll have like the Pantone colours and all that. It's got to be strictly regimented.
Regimented, yeah. And not everything, but most things are like that now. That's also something that I like from that stuff back then, whether it's movies or music or toys. Everything was a lot more experimental and there was a lot more heart in it.
Do you have brothers and sisters? Do they have like similar passions to you?
I have two sisters. One of them's similar to me. She's into photography and filmmaking and stuff. And then my other sister couldn't be any more different. She's like very normal. If I'm weirdo, she's complete opposite.
Are they older or younger?
Both younger. I was always the oldest, yeah. There's 3 years between all of us. I've got one that's 3 years younger than me and then one that's 3 years younger than her, so 6 years. And the one that's 6 years younger is the one I have like a lot in common with. She's into all like Dario Argento and Italian Giallo and all that kind of stuff, so she's wickedly into that. And not because I got her into it, because as a kid when I tried to show her stuff, like even like Kill Bill, she didn't like the gore and things because she was obviously a lot younger than me at the time. But yeah, she's way into that stuff. She probably knows more about all the Italian Giallo and stuff than I do.
What are some of your earliest memories of your dad being involved in toys? Did you used to go to events with him?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even a case of like I wanted to go to the car boot. Like he would just take me with him, and I did obviously have a lot of good times at them toy shows and stuff. But a lot of the time, I was like working with him and things. He would have me carrying boxes and stuff like that. And yeah, some earliest memories that have been with my dad. Probably the earliest toy memory. I don't even think I've ever talked about this on a podcast. I'm just remembering now. He brought me to these old markets in Sheffield. We have these like Castle Market, but like an outdoor market that's been knocked down now. And I remember he picked me up an Ace Duck from Ninja Turtles, which I've got here. And it had a white coat. And for years, I thought it was a white coat that he had, but I think someone had like painted on it with Tipp-Ex. And that's just like one of the earliest memories that I remember as a toy, like getting that figure. And then years later, like seeing it as an adult, like I swear he had a white coat. I was scraping it off one time and it was coming off. So I think someone had just like Tipp-Exed it with a Tipp-Ex pen. But I mean, I have lots of good memories of toys and being on holiday and stuff and finding like a discount store and it having like the full run of a toy line that was like on the way out, like Toxic Crusaders, but I loved them and they like got them all for like £4 each or something. And every day, if I was good on holiday, they'd let me open one every day, which of course I wasn't, but they let me open them anyway. I remember one time on holiday being on like a bandit machine and my dad's mate gave me £1 and I didn't even know what I was doing. And I like put it in and pressed the thing and like £20 in pound coins come out. And I bought these like bendy Universal Monsters figures and then some like knockoff Universal Monsters.
Oh, it's always the knockoff stuff at the holiday places.
Yeah, but I love that stuff. You know, that stuff now is like more sought after than the actual like branded stuff. Probably a lot like the big box VHS, like the weird and wonderful stuff that's more rare and unknown. That's the stuff that costs money. Like you could get something like Aliens on a big box and it ain't going to be worth as much as like the Sword and the Sorcerer weird pre-cert with like a mad cover on it and things. So yeah, the knockoff stuff, very much like the movies, that's what people are after now. And they're the ones that like Arrow are re-releasing and stuff now, aren't they? Like keep re-releasing all these mad old Asian kung fu movies and mad monster movies and stuff. They're the ones that were so hard to get on a VHS back then. And they're the ones that like when I have a conversation with someone like you, I'm like, oh, have you heard of this? And you're like, yeah. It's like, oh man, you're the only person I've ever met that knew what that were. You were raised on them video shops.
Exactly, man. I always say to people, it's like things you thought was like the biggest film around. Now you speak to people now, they've got no idea what you're talking about. It's like everyone must know what that film was. It was always in the video shop.
Well, I only know, I mean, you're a bit older than me, so you will have been at the video shops. You will have been old enough to go into video shops when that had a poster on the wall and they sold it. I was just getting these at car boots. And I think I said this to you before. I used to leave the big boxes because they didn't align nice on the shelf with the sell-throughs. I used to even buy a big box, scan it, and print off a small version so it fit nice in my shelf. And then I was like the last generation of people that were like, I don't know, I had Texas Chainsaw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they released like a remake, and then I'd buy that on the DVD and then make a VHS cover so it's fitted on my shelf nice. I would never do that now.
That's it. You used to get like, the nice pristine retail ones, chuck out the battered in ex-rentals.
But I used to get a DVD and change it into a VHS tape so it went on my VHS shelf. I'd buy a DVD, convert it to a VHS, make a cover and put that on my shelf so that it looked nice. I was that anal with my VHS.
You've mentioned in there about getting stuff on car boots, but on one of your videos you talk about the Sheffield store Redgates that was the place to go for toys in Sheffield. But did that close around the time you were born?
I never went to Redgates, no.
Where was your go-to place, which you always look forward to your folks taking to? Was it Woolworths?
Car boot. Yeah. I went to Toys R Us like twice as a kid.
That was the mecca, was it?
Yeah, it weren't that they were like too poor to take me or anything, but they'd be like, you can have the £10 of your birthday money and go to Toys R Us and buy one, or you could take £10 to a car boot and fill a bag up. So I would always just go to the car boot.
That always sounded logical to you.
Yeah. I mean, I used to go to like BTs and stuff when I was a kid and buy like the odd thing, but I don't have like many toy memories other than like the discount stores. Because I mean, I've got loads of discount store memories. Like every time I was a kid, I'd go to like town with my mum on a Saturday, whatever, shopping. And if I were good, again, which I never were because I was a terrible child, but she would always buy me like something from the discount store. Probably a store like Home Bargains now, so they were still branded figures. Like I remember getting like Kenner Alien Predators and stuff and Stargate figures and things off the rack. So they were still like branded, but you know, like when they're on the way out, as a kid, I was going to have my teeth out. I had to have like 16 teeth out as a kid because I had too many. Not because they were rotten, just because I had too many teeth, like a shark. And I remember she bought me like the Alien Predator like box Kenner figure, and she said like, oh, if you're brave and you have your teeth out, you can have it. And then I just like, she'd let me open it on the bus on the way home because I'd pestered her so much. That were always my mum's trouble. She always just let me get away with murder. My dad never did, but my mum was always that soft one. So that's a good memory. Good at that shop, getting those old discounts toys for sure.
I want to jump back into The Blob briefly before I forget.
Yeah, for sure.
When and where did you first see it? I'm presuming on video at some point.
Yeah, I remember exactly where we first got it. So my dad, again, just being that wheeler dealer guy, selling stuff at the car boot, because as much as he was a toy dealer, he still did the car boot every Sunday, and he still does the car boot every Sunday now. He does never miss a Sunday. Like, he's wound up if it rains. He'll still go if it rains, he don't care. He goes, even if he makes a tenner, he loves car boot. So he had like a box of VHS tapes in the hallway, and I remember my cousin, she found The Blob and Waxwork just on the top, and she was like, oh, Theo, look at these, they look mad. And this is an age where I think maybe A Nightmare on Elm Street is still a bit too much. It's still a bit too visceral, but The Blob and Waxwork were a bit like in that Monster Squad territory. More than Monster Squad, but I didn't like horror films as a kid. So I was really young. I don't know how young I was. I was probably only like 8 years old or something. And my dad had them in top of this car boot stuff. So my cousin got them and she was like, oh, look at these covers. They look mad. Ask your dad if we can borrow them and we'll watch them this weekend. So I went to stay over at my cousin's and my dad let me borrow them. And we just watched The Blob and Waxwork back to back and just thought they were incredible. And in many ways, probably a bit of a gateway to me watching stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and things. Do you know what I mean? Being like, oh, do you know what? Maybe horror films aren't as bad. Because I think a lot of the time as a kid, you're more scared of a horror film because people tell you, oh, it's horrible. Don't watch it. It's scary. Don't watch The Exorcist. It'll give you nightmares forever. And then you actually watch it and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's just like the word of mouth that surrounds something and gives it that notoriety. So that's when I first ever watched The Blob. And yeah, to this day, still my favorite horror film of all time. And I feel in the last few years, it gets a lot more recognition. People like it. But for years and years and years, I'm telling people watch The Blob and they're like, oh, it sounds stupid. And the title might sound stupid, but it's a great movie.
Videos have stayed with you over the years and you still have a great collection. When you visited our shop, you picked your top 3 tapes from our collection. The Blob, Adventures in Babysitting and Invasion USA. Off the top of your head, which are the top 3 from your own collection?
Well, I suppose I've got like a few displayed that are just like on a shelf in my front room that are a few of my favorites. Bronx Warriors 2 is always like one of my go-to ones. I love both movies. Both got great VHS covers, but number 2, I love the storyline of it. If I ever did a sequel to Unit 11, I would like fully rob the idea of Bronx Warriors 2. Because in the first Bronx Warriors movie, you've got all these gangs warring for territory and things between each other. And then at the end of the film, like the government kind of start to move in with the flamethrowers and on horseback and shit. Fucking awesome. But we're talking about like a movie that's like obviously piggybacking off the back of the Warriors, but then just going in a crazy direction. Flamethrower, horseback, police. So yeah, at the end of that movie, like the police start moving in, and then the sequel is all the gangs have had to team up and moved underground because they're bombing the Bronx and they're going to gentrify it, and they need to purge everyone out of the Bronx. So if I was ever going to do a Unit 11 sequel, I'd probably go down that route, that like all the gangs had to like team up against like a government. Fucking awesome soundtrack. Well, a soundtrack that's never been released on a vinyl or anything either, to my knowledge. The first one has, but not the sequel. It's like da 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 da. It's just a dope soundtrack. It's not orchestral. It's like a bit synthy, a bit guitar-y. It's just wicked. It's that Italian shit. And I've actually heard it used in trailers for other movies on VHS tapes over the years as well. But it's Bronx Warriors 2, that soundtrack. I love it. So Bronx Warriors 2 is always up there. There's a movie called Endgame, which is another post-apocalyptic one. Joe D'Amato made that. It's got like Al Cleaver in and George Eastman, who is Luigi Montefiore, that's in a bunch of those movies. He's also in the first Bronx Warriors. His name's Luigi Montefiore, but George Eastman was his American name. So that's always another one that I go to. It's a bit like a Running Man, Mad Max ripoff. And the cover is one of those covers that we spoke about before when I come to the shop that like paints a picture that's way different to the actual movie. Not that the movie's shit, I love the movie, but like you've got like a ridiculously ripped guy with spikes all over him and like this dope armor that they could just like never make in real life.
That's probably why they never gave you the box to take home when you rented a video, because you'd be still like, when's this guy going to come in it?
I hated that though. I hated getting a video and then taking it home and it was just a boring white box. Like I wanted to sit and admire the artwork. And what's another one? They're two that I always go to. And then maybe Eliminators. I love Eliminators.
Good
That's
one.
another great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I've got that on VHS and on Betamax. That's one of them as well, a bit like I was talking about with the Tipex coat on the Ace Duck Ninja Turtles figure. Maybe Robot Jocks as well, because that's a fucking other classic. I love Robot Jocks, but maybe something like Robot Jocks or Arena. No, it wasn't even a video that I owned, but it's a video that I borrowed off someone. And I remember seeing the trailer to the Eliminators, and I was so young, but I thought it was the dopest shit ever. In fact, oh man, it's going on a mad tangent now. I'll show you this, but you won't be able to see it because it's a video. I remember seeing the fucking Mandroid with the robot legs, and I made this as a kid when I'm like 4 years old.
You made that?
Yeah, my mum found it in the loft recently. So this is like an articulated robot of the Mandroid that I made with like tank legs as a kid because I just thought it was so fucking dope. So that movie, I just saw the trailer, and it wasn't until I was like 19 that I then saw the trailer again on another video, and I was like, fuck, it like unlocked a memory that I was like, damn, I remember this. I couldn't even remember if I'd made it up. This dude with tank legs going down steps and shit like a RoboCop guy. So then I hunted it down and got it. And by this point, you can just go on Amazon and buy any movie you wanted. So I got it when I was like 19. And the reason that there's a little robot in Unit 11 is because of that little robot in the Eliminators. I saw that and I thought, I'm having a little robot in my movie. A bit like a Boopo from Clash of the Titans, a little droid that flies around. And that's why he's not in the movie that much, but he is in it because I just wanted to have a little android robot. And I had the excuse to do it because my film was set slightly in the future. And what a mix in the Eliminators. You've got like a scientist, a ninja.
It's so random.
Like a river rat bounty hunter and an android and a little droid. And they're like a team against a dude who's like jumping through time portals, and he's got like Roman armor, but then a laser gun and things.
You even opened up your own pop-up video shop a few years ago in Sheffield, Video Nightmares, in conjunction with Arrow Video and Celluloid Screams. How did you find that whole experience? Did you enjoy it? It was like, just look at my shit. This is what I got.
First of all, we'll establish it was nothing compared to what you guys have done. It was like just a pop-up shop.
Well, it was an inspiration. I took little bits.
Well, that's good. But yeah, we were just, because I'm always involved in Celluloid Screams. It's a friend of mine's festival who runs it, Rob Nevitt, and Lucy, his wife. They run that festival. And I've known Rob for years because when I was doing special effects on independent films, he was DOP in them independent films. So I met him and then I did effects on his films. So I've known Rob years. So yeah, one year he just said, oh, I want to do a VHS store. He knew that I had a lot of like VHS and access to stuff. He's like, we'll do it in conjunction with Slimehouse and Arrow Video are going to like send some stuff. So we had a lot of like fake VHS tapes in there that were just like printed sleeves that I think Arrow, they'd used them for like an exhibition or something and they sent us them. Yeah, it was fun to do and it looked decent. Like I said, it's nothing compared to what your guys have done. You had the opportunity to like paint it all up and everything. We couldn't do that because it were a pop-up shop. So yeah, I had lots of like cool posters and things and the experience was wicked. Like I was only supposed to go in like just a couple of times a week. I was just like, yeah, I'll man the desk a couple of days a week. Obviously I'm busy. I've got my job and like I've got my like commissions and stuff. I work for myself. I don't have like a 9 to 5, but I have my own commitments and things. I can't be there all the time, but I ended up being there like 80% of the time. I loved it. And so many people came in just off the street wandering in and then they'd be in for an hour and we're just talking about like crazy old movies that no one else cared about, that in that moment it was just a great conversation. So yeah, it was a wicked experience. I loved it. And obviously you'll relate to the fact that it's the kind of place that people come to it if they're really into that thing. People wandered it off the street, might have a nosy and then walk out because they wondered what it was, but like a lot of people came like yourself from far and wide to check it out. We also ran it at the same time as the festival was on, so for like 4 days it was just full of people that are so into that stuff. And yeah, overall a great experience. And I always said if you ever want to do another one, like just send the word.
Yeah, awesome. And you've reported from a lot of like Celluloid Scream events and also done interviews at HorrorCon events.
Yeah.
Was that the kind of thing that got you into the whole YouTuber arena, or what was the introduction to that?
It all came from the movie making. So I made this movie, Unit 11. Me and my friend spent 10 years making this mad action adventure movie. You can buy it now on DVD. It's out in the world.
It was 10 years in total, was it?
Oh yeah, and the rest, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I started making that when I was like 19 and then I didn't finish it until I was like in my late 20s, a bit of like post-production after, and then it didn't get like released on DVD until 2 years after it had premiered. But yeah, so I spent 10 years making this movie. I had no idea how to make movies. Literally it all came from experience. And again, this is before you can go on YouTube and be like, oh, how to set up a camera so it looks filmic or anything. I didn't know what white balance was. I didn't know about frame rate. I didn't know anything, sound recording. We just made it up as we went along. And this is why it took 10 years, because I would film something and then 3 years later, I'm like, oh, the white balance is off, the frame rate's wrong. We're gonna have to refilm that. And then there's other stuff that it's like the white balance is off and the frame rate's wrong, but I can't refilm it because we just can't go back and do that. So I had to like bite my tongue on a lot of stuff and just put it out there, which I hate doing. As I explained at the start of this thing, I'm very much a perfectionist. So I don't like looking back at Unit 11 as a filmmaker, but I like looking back as Unit 11 as an experience, as something that I achieved with my friends. Like I'll never regret a day of filming Unit 11 because it's like like all my 20s are documented in this movie. So anyway, I was making this movie Unit 11, and then I met Rob, talking about Rob again, who run Celluloid Screams. He was working at Sheffield Live TV at the time as an editor and a producer and things. And I said, like, oh, if you ever want to do a show for the independent channel, then let me know and I'll think about it. And he was like, oh, yeah, we could talk. So I had a meeting with him, and then I just wanted to make the best show that was ever going to be on that TV channel, because up until that time, it was like pretty low key. Anything in a studio was filmed in their own little studio. So I was already running the Slimehouse Cinema at the time, just low key. I had my own like little independent cinema that was underneath the Vintage Centre that I worked at. We had like a basement that the woman who ran it, Jill, who's like my second mom, she just let me do what I want down there. So me and her daughter and some of my friends, we had like a monthly movie night showing 2 films back to back. So I had a space. So I said, okay, I'm going to get everyone that comes down to my movie nights to be the audience, and I'm going to have guests on and interview them, and then I'm going to have cutaways. But I wanted to do it so it was a bit like, those old Saturday night TV shows you'd watch where it'd be like a studio and it's a bit edgy, but then they'd like cut away to like reports like, oh, we'll cut away to something we filmed last week and whatnot.
Like The Word or something like
exactly, that. Yeah. And then we'd have a band on at the end of it. So there's like an interview with someone in the studio, and then we'll like cut to something, cut back to a bit more interview, and then we'll have another filming something else that we've pre-recorded, and then a band at the end. And I did 4 episodes of that, and then I filmed the 5th one in Japan because I was going to Japan anyway, so I filmed an episode there. So what I did is I made these 5 episodes, and they were like 40 minutes long with lots going on. I made them for Sheffield TV Live, and then because they were for Sheffield TV Live, they could also go online because I had the rights to them. So I just put them on my own YouTube channel, and I'd already got a movie on my YouTube, Sheffield Graffiti Kingdom. I'd made a documentary all about graffiti, these midlife crisis people that got into graffiti in the 40s kind of thing and then stuck with it. So I'm involved in lots of different things. But yeah, I had a YouTube channel, and it had Graffiti Kingdom on, and then it had those episodes, which I called Slimehouse TV, because we filmed it in our Slimehouse Cinema with all the audience. And then what happened was then just getting the opportunity to film little bits and bats, like, oh, an interview with this person. Okay, I'll do it as like a one-off special on my Slimehouse. And then when HorrorCon was coming around, I just hit them up and said, I've got a YouTube channel. I've interviewed some people on my YouTube channel already, and I also have a TV show. I used to drop that all the time and produce my own TV show. Because it is a TV show, and it does broadcast not just in Sheffield, on all the different live networks. So it was a TV show. So I could say I'm the producer of a TV show. And at this point, because I'd done battle rap and stuff, I had some nice links to like real well-known people. I think it's episode 1. I interviewed Necro, who is like the biggest underground rapper in the world. He's like the Lloyd Kaufman of hip hop, in my opinion, from New York and stuff. Very gratuitous, very controversial guy. And I went to his show, filmed his show, and interviewed him after. So that's like in episode 1. So I had like some good footage of me interviewing like well-known people. Anyway, I went to HorrorCon, and at the time they were like, we're not really filming it. If you just want to come as a volunteer and just help out and meet everyone, do that. So I did that. And then the second year jumped in, and we're a bit like, okay, I don't want to be emptying bins and cleaning tables and just like doing general like volunteer work. Not that they was treating me like a mug or anything. I chose to be there, but I wanted to be involved more. So I just made a point of like introducing myself more to the guests, saying if they need anything, let me know. And then I was a bit like, oh, what time is your photo shoot? And then I'd speak to the woman that run it, Wendy and Jill, and I'd say, who's taking them to the photo shoot? And they're like, oh, do you want to do it? So I'm like, yeah, sound.
Just being proactive and like seizing opportunities.
Yeah. And I'm just like that. It wasn't because I was like, okay, I'm going to go out my way to progress in this business. I just wanted to do more than my skill set's better than just like walking around is asking if anyone needs like a cup of tea bringing. So I basically did that. And then she's like, do you want to do that next year? And then by like year 4 or something, she was like, oh, we want you to be like officially like the guest liaison manager of HorrorCon. So now I'm the guest liaison manager of HorrorCon. And because I do that, I get to take the actors and the directors and the famous horror people. And I've interviewed Doug Bradley, Corey Feldman, do you know what I mean? Like certified dudes in horror and stuff. And I take them to their photo shoot and everywhere. And I just look after them all weekend. So during that time, I'll usually say like, oh, is it cool if I get an interview with you at some point? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, sound. There's only a couple that wouldn't do it. And either they wanted to do it, but the management were like, no, they're not allowed to do interviews, whatever. Like some of the bigger guests. But 9 times out of 10, like Malcolm McDowell I interviewed at the last one. It don't get like a bigger name than that in like the genre. So yeah, that's why I got lots of interviews for my YouTube channel through doing the HorrorCon thing. But then off the back of them, then I've also been able to hit up people independently and been like, I'm the guest liaison manager of HorrorCon. I've interviewed all these other people that you know. Can I get you on my podcast and things? And so that's how it started. And I only ever wanted to have interviews if they were like with certified people, because I was like, oh, I've got a level now where everyone I'm interviewing and things are like world-renowned people. And then I was just doing bits and bats, and very just now and again I dropped something on there that I felt was cool. And then I was going to Japan as well, toy hunting, so I filmed all them and dropped them on. So I've got a very diverse YouTube channel, but again, it's all the Slimehouse brand.
It all works though, mate. It all works under that Slimehouse banner.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. when lockdown hit and I was like, okay, I've got all this time on my own. I'm just going to film stuff on my own in my house. And then that's when like my toy review stuff started to really come through, which is now my most popular stuff on the channel. And it's what I do the most. YouTube was a whole thing to work out. I mean, we could do a whole podcast talking about YouTube, but like going from somebody that like wanted to make something like TV and then realizing that like, okay, YouTube doesn't work like TV. They don't want to watch a 40-minute variety show. They want to watch 10 minutes of a specific thing. And they also want that specific thing every single week in order to build up followers and subscribers and stuff, to a point that now like YouTube is part of my job, part of my income. So I have to stick to a certain brand on a certain day. And if I want to do something that's a bit different, I have to make sure I drop that on a different day. So it's very strange. And like the thing is, let's say I got 1,000 subscribers just from my HorrorCon stuff that I do. They only watch HorrorCon stuff. So when I'm dropping stuff for a toy event or I'm doing a graffiti thing or I'm reviewing old toys, they'll never watch that. So you'll have like 1,000 dormant subscribers that only watch when you put a horror thing. And the same goes for the toy thing. I've got 3,000 subscribers that are just there for the toy thing, but they won't watch any of the HorrorCon stuff. So ideally, you'd have like 5 different channels, but I can't be running 5 different channels. I just have to keep it all Theo Cane, Slimehouse, and every week it's always Slimehouse vibe, but it's different.
Even though you say there is only certain people watching certain videos, I think there will be a slight crossover because people buy into you as the brand.
That's what you hope.
Yeah.
You hope that people come for you and not what you're filming.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. There will always be people that can't stand my voice, but they like how I film toys. They might watch me on mute with the subs, but they like how I film stuff and they like what I say, but they don't like how I'm saying it with my accent. And I do get that because it's very chalk and cheese, the Northern accent, especially mine. So I have to accept that. But the goal, the dream is that people come and they don't care what you're talking about. You could be reviewing a movie, reviewing a game, talking about toys, doing a food review. They're not bothered. They just find you engaging.
Yeah.
That's what you'd like ideally, but it's not always the case.
We spoke a little bit about your film Unit 11. After all that time
Yeah.
making it, how rewarding was it for you to see it finally released? What was the story you told me? Was it about having a copy in Asda?
So my friend was setting up a tattoo studio. My friend that's in the movie Unit 11, and he's like, oh, you can work at the tattoo studio with me. So I'm like, okay, I've got like a 6-month block between what I'm doing at the minute and starting that tattoo studio that I need to earn some money. So I just got a job at Asda. There was one opening near my house. I applied for a job working on the DVD and games desk. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just sat on a desk selling DVDs and games in Asda in the electrical department. I'm like, that's sound. I'm not stacking shelves and I'm not like having to work on a till, like doing normal general stuff. It's just DVDs and games that I'm doing. I'm basically working in the HMV, a little one in Asda. That wasn't the case when I got there. Even they had me stacking bedding and all sorts of stuff. But I worked there, and then Slacker, who is also in the movie, dude with the mohawk and the big grenade launcher, he also worked there as a security guard. So we both got a job at the same time, but we worked at 2 different Asdas because they put you in training for a month in a random Asda. So I never even got to work in the new store because I got fired before it. But basically, there was like a big like meeting, a big open day, like to celebrate the opening of a new Asda. And they had us sat down for like 3-4 hours in this building, just watching people talk about how much they love Asda and how awesome Asda is, and oh, I work at Asda, my mum works at Asda, my auntie works at Asda, you cut me down middle, they call me Blackpool Rock, I'm Asda through and through. People that love Asda, whatever, fair play. If you love Asda, I wish I was that buzzed out about stuff that's that simple, like you must sleep like a baby, but like, yeah, these people love Asda. So me and Slacky, whilst talking to each other, not being loud, we're a bit like, oh, this is fucking wank, this, I can't wait to fuck off. Just like you are in work sometimes, like normal shit. So somebody grassed us up basically and said that we'd been swearing, and we both got, long story short, we both got fired from Asda for swearing, both of us, before we even started in the new building. Now, it didn't matter because like a week later I was working at the tattoo shop, so it didn't matter, but I got fired from Asda for swearing. Then all these years later, my movie, Unit 11, where I say every fucking curse word in the world, every word I know, I say in this movie, pretty much, and I'm on sale on the shelves in the very Asda that I got fired from, with the manager walking past me every day with my face on that DVD on the shelf. I went from getting fired from Asda to having my movie on the shop shelf in Asda, where I say every swear word imaginable.
You didn't take any photos of you, did you?
Oh yeah, in Asda we did. I wrote a thing about it on my Instagram, like a whole thing. I think it's a pinned post actually on my Instagram, like the top right picture when you go on there. Like I wrote that because I liked it. But yeah, it was just one of those nice full circle moments. And out of all the stuff, and call me petty and stuff, and out of all of the stuff that came back from making a movie yourself, that was one of the things that were like, yeah,
I got
that's my favorite.
What's next for you as a filmmaker?
So I've got this movie that I've been working on for a couple of years, Wendy and the Wendigo. It's not a feature like Unit 11. It shouldn't have even took this long. But we started making it and then lockdown hit and my friend was going to be in it who's an American. So we was like, okay, we're not going to be able to get him over from the States anytime soon because of lockdown, because it's set in the Old West. It's not actually set in the Old West, but if you watched it, it looks like a Western. But me as a director, I never say what era it's set in. that people talk American. They look like cowboys. We've got horses and carts and Western towns. It looks very Western, but I never say it's a Western, but it looks like one. So we'll just leave that at that era-wise. But I wanted an American in it. So my friend is an American actor. Well, I wrote the role for him. I didn't just want any American. I wrote the role for him. So when lockdown hit, there was like 2 years halted the movie that we couldn't get him over. So we filmed little bits and bats because I was just eager to start. And then about a year ago, I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to have to rethink this, because also to get my friend over, it's going to be like 800 quid for a ticket, 700 quid. I could probably put that money into other things in the movie. And me and him will work on a project again in the future. I met another really good actor that was Irish, and I asked him to do me like a read of the lines, and he was sick. So he put a bit of a twist on the character and things, but he was great. So we thought, okay, we'll do that. So I filmed all the shots with him that I needed. So now the only thing I haven't got is like a little bit of green screen, and the whole movie's shot and pretty much edited. A lot of it's scored as well. I'm just tinkering with the ADR. And when it comes to ADR, like I hate it. I'm an artist. I'm not technical. I don't like making audio match up and the best way to record it and things. I've done it before where you record it and you try and match it up and it either doesn't sync right or just doesn't sound right. Sounds like it's in a studio and not in a forest and things. So that's just the hurdle that I'm at now. And to be honest, like it's been a couple of months that I haven't like actually opened it up and like really nailed it down. But I've got a date in mind, like moving forward, like, okay, I want to open the project up again on this day and then like work through it and see what the best way to finish it is. But it looks incredible. Like I'm not even like blowing my own trumpet compared to Unit 11. It's like a million miles away. I bought a whole new camera setup to do it. Like I studied shots and I thought about every shot I was filming. The actress is great. She's wicked. Like every location is so on point. The effects look good. Like I said, we got horses in it. It looks the part. So yeah, it's just a case now of like just getting that thing finished. And then I don't know what'll happen to it. I've never made a movie like, okay, I'm making a movie because it's been funded. I've never had funding or anything like that. I got like a Kickstarter to finish Unit 11 and Indiegogo, but I've never like been funded by a company to make anything. So it's not like, okay, I'm releasing it because Shudder want it or anything like that. I'm literally just making it to make it. The only thing I did have in mind is that when I made Unit 11, it was such a beast. It was like an hour and a half movie that I put it in so many festivals and none of them showed it. Not only because it was too amateur to show, I think, for a lot of them, but also as festival only has a certain amount of slots allocated for a feature film.
Right. It's mainly like short films.
Yeah, they'll have 100 feature films submitted, but they can only show 8 or 12. But when it comes to shorts, they allocate lots of slots. They might have allocate like 30, 40 slots for shorts. So I thought, okay, if I make a short film, and originally I wanted to make it like 15 minutes long. Do you like those Neil Blomkamp Alt Studios movies? Have you seen them? Feels like you've watched a feature film, but in 15 minutes. I thought I'll do something like that. And now it's ended up being about half an hour long. I don't know how long it'll be in the final edit, but I wanted it to feel like you watched a whole feature film in a short amount of time. I didn't want it like two people sat in a room and there's a bit of conversation, then something happens with a twist. I wanted to feel like, there's like 10 locations in this. There's so much going on, but you're going to watch it in half an hour. And it's not going to feel rushed, but it's also going to feel like you've watched a feature in a short space of time. So that's what's next for me at the minute. It looks awesome. It's called Wendy and the Wendigo, and I'm looking forward to getting it out and showing people, because the only thing they've seen from me, like movie making wise, is Unit 11, which is not a reflection of my filmmaking skill now. It's a very good reflection of what can be achieved off nothing for 10 years when you're just kids trying to make this thing work, because we've got speedboats, tanks, explosions, hundreds of people in battle scenes and stuff in Unit 11. I'll downplay it because I downplay it, but there's some scenes in there that are very impressive in terms of like fight choreography and war scenes and action that I could never make now because I just wouldn't have the access to do it. Because making Unit 11, we got arrested like 8 times for different things, for trespassing in buildings we shouldn't have been in and things. That's a whole story in itself. If you want to find out any more about making Unit 11, we did 3 episodes called The Debrief on my YouTube channel, going into all that stuff. You can find out more about that. I wouldn't want to do that now. I don't want the anxiety of filming and having to concentrate on shots and carrying all this gear, also thinking I might get arrested at any minute. I didn't like it when I did Unit 11, but I just dealt with it because I had no choice. Now I have the choice. I like to do things at more private land, more private land orientated with permission. Yeah, so we had permission for most of the stuff in Wendy and the Wendigo. Not everything, but a lot of it was like filming out in caves and ravines in the middle of the Lake District, which are surprisingly populated on like Saturdays and stuff. So we'd go at like 2 a.m. on a summer's morning when it's getting light for like 3:30 and film stuff before dog walkers turned up. So yeah, just I can't remember what I was saying, but going back to Unit 11, he's very impressive in many ways, but as a filmmaker, it's not something I'm happy with technical wise. Wendy and the Wendigo will be a much more impressive showpiece in terms of me as a filmmaker.
Not only do you have you do your filmmaking, you got this incredible collection of toys spanning many decades, but
yeah,
you're also a toy designer yourself from creating your own toy line, and you do like the whole packaging art. Is it Deathlatron, which you've got?
Well, I made my little wooden robot when I was 4. That was my first thing.
Your Mandroid.
Yeah, my Mandroid, the Mandroid. Yeah, I've made lots of toys for other companies, like lots of toy designers and schematics. Like Deathlatron was something that was made for another company. I had a lot of hand in design in it and stuff. But like, I didn't choose the name or nothing. That's like something that someone else came up with. But that's a throwback to one of those expensive knockoff toys I was talking about. Like a knockoff toy from Mexico that if you find one, it's like 200 quid loose or something, probably more now. But that was like a throwback to that Deflatron. So on my Instagram, I put lots of like stuff up that I've made. Also like my own stuff. So last night on my Patreon, I just dropped the video showing like my first ever action figure that I've made myself, like revealing it. I've got into the field of like creating toys for other people, but now I'm wanting to do my own. That's another whole thing that I've been doing. So then I've also got an actual toy that's ready to be released very soon that are all made in the rubber plastic and everything. Like they're ready, and I've made them in conjunction with a big independent toy designer in the UK who's like poured them and cast them for me, and I designed it and I thought of the name, did all the artwork, and we're just trying to work out the best paint application to stick to this type of rubber that we've used. But they look great.
Did they reach out to you, or is it somebody you've known for a while?
Someone that I knew through the scene, like, because I'm heavily invested in the independent toy scene as well. You get independent music, independent bands, independent filmmakers. You also get independent toy makers. It's a much smaller scene, but you get people that just like independently design the toys and low run stuff and have big followings and things. And this guy who's made me this has like one of the biggest followings in England. So me and him's like, our head sticker came up with this dope toy, and I'll be revealing that real soon.
It's an art form in itself, like an artist does a limited run of prints. Some artists do their own limited run of their figures, and they've just become massive in demand, sell out. Do you buy many of those yourself?
I mean, I've got some. I like to support it when I can. They are very expensive and very low run, to a point that like some of them, I'm doing some work with Toy-Con this year. I've always done work with Toy-Con, but I'm going to be a little bit more involved this year. And they have like designer artists that come from Japan and America and stuff, and they might have like 30, 50 made, and there's such demand for them that like the morning of the Toy-Con event, there's like a giant queue outside. And not only that, you also have to put in for a lottery just to be with the chance to buy one. It's like 300 people want it, and there's only 30 of them. So you have to be given like a lottery ticket. Do you know, like in Jingle All the Way with those little coloured balls they give to Schwarzenegger and that, to see if you can be in with a chance of even buying a Turbo Man? That's what it's like. To even be in with a chance of buying one of these things, you need to like enter a lottery first. In some cases, they're that in high demand. And there's more money floating around in that scene than there is in the vintage toy world.
Now you're into all this kind of stuff. What the chance of a Theo Cane action figure at some point?
I don't know if anyone would be asked about having one. Who'd want a toy of me?
Maybe Patreon people might be.
Maybe. I'll be much better at designing like a cool monster toy that they might want that's like made by me. Yeah. It's got my soul and my flavour throughout it, but it's not an actual toy of me.
If you did go down that route, what size would it be? Would it be like a Star Wars G.I. Joe 3/3/4, or would you go for the larger Masters of the Universe bulked up version?
Well, I'm not a bulked up guy really, so I won't be looking like He-Man. And then also like the 3 3/4 thing has been done quite a lot. Like so many companies have done the 3 3/4 Star Wars thing. I'd probably prefer to be like a Casey Jones Ninja Turtles Playmates figure. A bit more like that would be a bit more like me, which is the kind of toys I make anyway. Yeah, I'm a bit over like that kind of Star Wars thing. Everything's been done in that style now, to a point that's like I'd rather do something that's a little bit different. And a lot of those figures you can like download an STL file, like a digital schematic that's like just there that you can then just quickly like sculpt on top of and play around with. And I'd rather sculpt something from scratch that's like, yeah, I'm the only guy in the world that could have made this because I've sculpted it myself.
And get some nice 90s neon colours on there.
Yeah. If we're doing a figure of me, yeah, that's the way I'd go down.
What's the shittest figure you own which you love to death?
Man, I've got some shit. I've got some like real cheap like Biker Mice on Mars knockoffs and things. Yeah, I've got some like weird stuff. I went through like a phase of just buying that knockoff stuff, but I used to buy them like ironically, like, oh, that's shit, I love it. But then like now the prices for some of them went so crazy, and people are like, oh my God, that's amazing, I'll pay $300 for it right now. And I'm like, this is when I tap out, man. I liked that stuff because it was like stupid, not because people wanted to start spending a lot of money on it. It kind of ruins it, doesn't it? With like a lot of the VHS stuff, if you were like, back in the day, you'd like pick up some stuff at a car boot, you're like, oh, this film looks fucking terrible. I'm having it for 50p. And then now someone's trying to sell it for like 80 quid. And it's like, that movie's never worth 80 quid. You probably didn't spend that making it. You're going to try and sell me because it's like a more obscure video. Like, and then you get to that point where are people buying that because they genuinely think it's cool, or are they buying it because they want to have like something that's obscure and weird? They want to say they've got it, or do they want it because it's worth money and that's why they're buying it? And that's what I get with a lot of that like knockoff weird, those cheap toys like that that's worth money now. I'm like, there's no way you're telling me that bootleg Skeletor is worth 400 quid. Like, you're literally buying it because other people on this toy group have told you that it's in high demand. It's not worth 400 quid. You know what I mean? It's 3 pence worth of plastic and it's painted in some shitty paint that's flaking off its face for the last 20 years. It's not worth that money. So that's when I start tapping out of it. And then I think, okay, I'd rather spend 100 quid on a vacuum forming machine to make my own toy. Well, it won't be 100 quid for a vacuum former, but do you know what I mean? I'd rather invest into making my own fucking weird toys at that point.
I had Josh Schaefer on talking about value of tapes and stuff like that, and he was saying like people are paying crazy amounts of money when he used to, like, say, you'd pick them up at like 50 pence, but now people are buying them thinking, oh, I wonder what this is worth. I've said, like, it's a VHS tape. It's not worth shit. And Josh says, you know what it's worth? It's worth a watch.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. It's worth a watch. And people's grading VHS tapes now, so you won't ever be able to watch them. They're having them like fitted in graded boxes like they do to toys. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You get like a toy and you send it to the graders and it'll come back like a dissected bat in a box, like with all its arms and stuff stiff.
It's sealed. It's probably mouldy as fuck inside. There's some moisture got into it.
It's like SNES games and VHS. And that's, again, when I tap out, I'm like, this is not why I'm in this hobby. I'm not in it for the money. It's nice that it's worth money. And if I ever need to make a bit of money for an emergency or something, I have got a bit of collateral there. But I'd rather sell my kidneys before I sell my toys. So it don't matter how much they're worth. I like them because I think they're cool. And like, yeah, I suppose with the VHS thing, they don't have like VHS fairs, do they? Like they do toy fairs. Like you can go to get vinyl fairs, you go collect vinyl, because vinyl's a lot like that now, isn't it? For years, people didn't really want it, and then it's making it come back. Like cassette tapes are again. That'd be nice if we had somewhere in England where they had like a video fair. I know it'd only be small.
VHS swap meet.
Like an actual like a vendor that everyone goes to, and there's like 50 people selling VHS tapes and doing swapping and stuff. That'd help actually gauge the market of what people want to pay for this stuff as well.
It's worth a watch. That's the end of the day.
I love that. I love that. It's worth a watch.
Theo, dude, it's been great to chat to you, mate. I've loved it.
Yeah, man. Sorry if I went off on a bunch of tangents. I often do that. Man.
I love it. I love tangents. I just like listening, so I just let you do your thing.
I tried not to talk too quick. I tried to articulate myself.
So good. Well, I'm excited to see what you come up with next. I'm enjoying the content you're putting out. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, man. And I fucking love what you're doing. As you know, I did a video. I filmed it at your place, and I came back like on a high. I love what you're doing. I want to come visit it again and do some more stuff with you. And like just the fact that people like you exist make me not feel like that much of a weirdo in this world. So I appreciate you as well, brother.
Massive respect to Theo Cane for not just coming onto the podcast to chat all things Slimehouse, but just for all the great work and good vibes he puts out into the world through his projects. It's people like this that continually inspire me to do better and try to make things with straight to video always the best they can be. Hopefully you enjoyed our chat and will check out all things Slimehouse, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook or Instagram, and maybe hunt down Theo's movie Unit 11 if you want to see all the hard work that went into creating his feature film. And if you want to catch up on earlier episodes of this podcast, there's over 200 to be found at stvpod.com or wherever you listen to shows. And if you have time, please share with friends or maybe post a review on Apple Podcasts. The show continues to grow and get great feedback, and it's because of your help that can continue to happen. So that's all for today's show. Things are getting busier all the time, and I'm excited to see where we can take this podcast. So until we chat again, take care and speak soon.